Apple provides employees of various sorts. Typically sign in with Apple, which to some extent competes with Epic account system.
All right. And in terms of the distribution of apps, is there any competition between Epic and Apple?
There's not, because Apple bars us from operating a store, a digital app store that could operate on the iOS platform.
Now,
I'm sorry. However, Apple also operates the Mac App Store, and the Epic Game Store is to some extent in competition with the Mac App Store, and that they both sell products to the same base of users.
You mentioned earlier in one of your answers the word publisher. What does the word publisher mean in connection with apps?
A publisher provides a full-service relationship with the developer. Publishers typically fund development of a game or app to some extent. The publisher provides all the marketing services, most of the marketing services for the app, and funds the marketing. And the publisher participates in the distribution of the product to consumers, either by directly distributing it or by working with distributors to distribute the app.
So now you've used the word distributors and publishers working with distributors. What is a distributor insofar as it's distinct if it is from a publisher?
A distributor is a company that's in the more narrow business of making software programs available to consumers. In the old days, this was through retail distribution. In modern days, this is distribution through stores, such as the iOS App Store or the Epic Game Store.
And are you aware of any business model differences between a publisher of apps and a distributor of apps?
Yes, these are entirely different businesses with different costs. A publisher typically funds most or all of the expenses associated with the entire product, including development and marketing. Whereas a distributor typically only pays the costs associated with direct distribution, such as in the digital world, the bandwidth and payment processing fees.
I'm now going to go in some of your testimony. You described the various parts of Epic's business. Can you describe to the court which of those parts, if any, have been harmed by the Apple policies that you filed the lawsuit with regard to in August of 2020?
Apple policies harm every facet of their business. As I described earlier, harmed by consumer products and game business and by restricting sorts of features you can access to consumers, the quality of service you can offer, and imposing a commission structure that tends to inflate prices of goods. Apple policies harm a technology business in this particular case because Apple has threatened to remove the Unreal Engine. Apple has threatened to remove Epic's ability and access to its APIs to continue developing the Unreal Engine for iOS and Mac devices. This is no longer develop our software that would become obsolete relatively quickly, so we couldn't provide proper support for our customers, and our customers could no longer rely on us as a supplier of that software. Finally, Epic Game Store business is harmed by Apple's policy because we are barred from introducing a version of our store for iOS. We can operate on PC and Mac, but we cannot, because of Apple's policies, distribute apps on iOS. And that's the result of a very large worldwide business that we love to be in.
Let's talk now about Fortnite. What is Fortnite?
Well, Fortnite is a phenomenon that transcends gaming. It's a social entertainment experience. It includes a variety of gaming experiences and also non-gaming experiences within it.
And when was Fortnite first launched on any platform?
Fortnite went through some private beta tests in 2015 and 2016, but it launched to the public in 2017.
And you just mentioned that Fortnite has both gaming and non-gaming aspects. What aspects of Fortnite are non-gaming, if you can describe them?
Certainly, Fortnite has a mode called Fortnite Party Island, which includes a variety of entertainment experiences. Some are gaming, but others are not gaming related at all. We've held concerts within Fortnite. We've held previews of we've showed several feature-length films within Fortnite that people could watch, sort of like a real-time TV social session where you're watching something like a Netflix movie. And we've hosted a number of other events, including Short Night, an event where we shared some short films created by indie filmmakers. And we hosted some conversations, pre-recorded a social dialogue that players could visit and listen to, and also talk about socially as within the 3D world of Fortnite.
And what are some of the game aspects of Fortnite?
The most popular gaming experience in Fortnite is Fortnite's Battle Royale mode. This is a player experience where lone players or duos or squads drop into the island together and fight some fairly traditional game mechanics within the world of Fortnite until one team prevails at the end of the match.
Now, is there a word or term in the industry that you're aware of for this kind of user experience, this game and non-game user experience?
Yes, the industry has come to call this new medium that's emerging the metaverse.
And what?
The metaverse.
Metaverse. And how would you define the metaverse?
The metaverse was defined in early science fiction literature in novels such as Snow Crash. It's posited a future real-time computer-powered 3D entertainment and social medium in which real people would go into a 3D simulation together and have experiences ranging of all sorts, from social to gaming.
Is gameplay necessary to the metaverse or not necessary to the metaverse?
Yeah, in the metaverse and in experiences at Fortnite, participants, players, if you call them, that can go in together and have a purely social experience, watch a concert, or just hang out and chat. There are many ways to engage which do not require playing a game.
How many users does Fortnite have today, approximately?
Fortnite has over 400 million users experience the world of Fortnite in its lifetime.
And in August of 2020, what was the trajectory of the users for Fortnite? Mr. Sidney, are you familiar with information relating to user usage of Fortnite?
Yes.
And how do you obtain that information?
The Fortnite business and analytics team.
What business and what?
Analytics. Team tracks daily, monthly, and other usage statistics on Fortnite.
And do you review those statistics from time to time in connection with your duties and responsibilities?
Yes.
Are you familiar, in a general sense, with the trajectory of usage of Fortnite over time?
Yes.
Let's focus on the time period of 2020. Let's start in the 2020 sort of January time frame. Can you give me a general sense of the trajectory of Fortnite usage from then until the filing of the lawsuit in August of that year?
Yes, Fortnite is generally growing in that time frame.
Now, let's talk about some of, before I get there, how many users were in Fortnite in approximately 2018, if you know?
Sorry, I don't remember the number.
Do you know whether it was more or less than the number that exists in Fortnite or the usage of Fortnite today?
It was two.
Now, let's talk about some of the concerts that you mentioned had occurred within Fortnite. Can you just remind us of the portion of the Fortnite app that the concert occurred within?
Certainly, Fortnite concerts have occurred both within the Fortnite battle. Well, actually, I'm sorry, backing up. The first concert was with the musician Marshmallow.
Before we even get there, which Fortnite you said has Battle Royale, Party Royale, and the Creative Mode? Which of those three, if any, of those portions of Fortnite hosted the concerts?
Most of our concerts have been in Fortnite Party Royale. One of the major concerts was in a new mode that we created just for it. And I believe our original Mexico concert, most of our recollection, took place within the Battle Royale island.
All right, and have there been any concerts other than the Marshmallow concert that you just mentioned?
Yes, we've had numerous concerts.
Have any of the concerts involved non-cartoon characters performing?
Yes, many of our concerts in Fortnite Party Island have taken place in a huge video screen in which the musicians themselves as humans appeared through the video screen, while Fortnite players participated as virtual TV avatars.
And is there any competitive gameplay that occurs when these concerts are occurring?
No, the concert viewing experience is purely a virtual music listening experience and doesn't involve one-on-one music.
You also mentioned that there were some movies that were hosted within Fortnite. Can you describe what some of those movies were?
Yes, we hosted three Christopher Nolan films.
You hosted three Christopher Nolan
films. Sorry.
Mr. Trina, I'm just going to do a test. I'm hearing that the media on the phone line is having a difficult time hearing you. So you may be too close to the mic, so let's just do a test. I'm asking a simple question, Ms. Forrest.
Mr. Sweeney, whose films were being hosted?
Christopher Nolan films.
All right, and how many of those films were hosted within Fortnite?
Three films, sir.
Let's keep it at this for a while and let you know. I'll interrupt again if I get more feedback.
All right, we'll try to be sort of shorter and we'll be able to articulate more to make sure that we're able to capture the sound appropriately. And was there any competitive gameplay that was associated with those films?
No.
Were those films only portions of films, or were they an entire film?
These were full feature-length films.
Is there any other filmed entertainment that has been hosted within Fortnite?
Yes, we also hosted an event called Short Night, in which we hosted several short films, 3 to 5 minute segments created by indie filmmakers.
And when did these films, when were they hosted within Fortnite? Over what period of time, generally speaking?
These occurred over the last year and a half.
And in terms of the concerts, generally speaking, over what period of time did those concerts occur?
Over a period of, I believe, at least 2 years.
And has Fortnite hosted any television shows?
Yes, we hosted at least 2.
Can you recall the names of the two?
At least 2.
Can you recall the names of the 2 television shows that Fortnite hosted?
Yes, one was ESPN's The Ocho.
ESPN's
The Ocho?
Ocho?
Yes.
And can you recall the name of the other one?
I believe it was Discovery Channel's Tiger Shark.
Okay, and do you recall approximately when those occurred?
Over the past 18 months.
Have there been any forms of community conversation within Fortnite?
Yes. We hosted an event called We the People. We presented a few films, dialogue on racial equality and voter protection in the United States. In Fortnite Party Island, participants could stand around in social groups so they could talk to each other through voice chat while listening to the presentation.
Was there any competitive gameplay in connection with the Millions of People community conversation?
No.
Was there any competitive gameplay in connection with the television shows that Fortnite hosted?
No.
Were there any other noteworthy events that have occurred within Fortnite that did not involve? Were there any other noteworthy events that have occurred within Fortnite?
No. Fortnite evolved through a series of seasons, and then several seasons have ended in major cinematic events. One was a cinematic event in the Marvel universe, and the other was a cinematic event in which the world of Fortnite was swallowed by a black hole, and the players were left for a few days to wonder what would happen next right before Fortnite Chapter 2 launched.
Are you familiar with the term updates?
Yes.
Is Fortnite updated from time to time?
Yes, we generally make a major update to Fortnite every 2 weeks.
What does that mean? What does it mean to update Fortnite?
Well, the world of Fortnite is constantly evolving. There are new faces appearing in the world, and new forms of gameplay and behavior constantly coming on every time. These updates are critical for Epic to deliver all the new functionalities to Fortnite participants.
Are you familiar with the term crossplay?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Crossplay refers to the ability of one player on one device to in a shared session in the Fortnite world together with other people on other platforms. This is the ability for iOS players to play in Fortnite in the same world as a PlayStation player.
So Fortnite has it supported crossplay over time?
Yes.
And what does it play any role? Does Epic play any role in the adoption of crossplay?
Yes, when Fortnite was released in 2017, for the console platforms, console platforms had restrictions on crossplay. And Epic went through a series of negotiations with Microsoft and with Sony over the period of 2018, which resulted in both Microsoft and Sony opening up to enable crossplay between their consoles and between every other platform. With the effect that every Fortnite player on all 7 different platforms was able to play together in that time frame.
Benefits to crossplay.
In a social game like Fortnite, players typically play together with other friends, a duo or a squad. You're often playing socially or with voice chat. And so the magic of Fortnite is the ability to play together with people you know in the real world and to have a shared social experience, even if you're on different places and on different devices. And this sort of social app only works well for players if they can connect to all of their friends who want to play the game. If players are segregated by their device, so that Xbox players could only play with Xbox players and so on, then it would break up real-world social groups and improve people's ability to play together with their colleagues.
Does Fortnite support cross-progression? What does cross-progression mean?
Cross-progression refers to the capability of users who own multiple devices to connect to Fortnite on different platforms and to have the same possession or a state or ownership of virtual items on all different platforms. Meaning that if you go into Fortnite on iOS, for a time, the Fortnite outfits you owned on iOS and the Fortnite record of progress you had would be carried over if you left iOS and went over to Xbox, or if you left Xbox and came back to iOS. So throughout the day, you could go between these different devices in Fortnite without ever losing your place.
Does Epic charge for access to Fortnite?
No, Fortnite is free. users on all platforms can download the game and play without paying any money.
How does Epic monetize Fortnite if it does?
Sells cosmetics within the game, which players can optionally purchase to enhance appearance in the world of Fortnite.
Can you define what the word cosmetic means in connection with the world of Fortnite?
Cosmetic item is an item that changes your avatar's appearance in the world. Such as an outfit. You can either appear in Fortnite as a Marvel superhero or a giant banana. Fortnite cosmetics also include emotes, such as dances or gestures that you can make on your animated character in the world, and other fashion accessories.
You've mentioned the word avatar. What does the word avatar mean?
Avatar refers to your 3D character who is representing you in the real-time, three-dimensional world of Fortnite.
Now, have you heard of the phrase in-app purchase?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Purchase refers to the capability of a user to spend money within an app without having to leave the app and go to another place in order to get typically a benefit of some sort within the app.
And some of the items that you've mentioned, for instance, cosmetics, does Epic offer cosmetics as in-app purchases?
Yes, Epic sells many outfits through in-app purchase.
Is there any reason why Epic decided to or chose to offer in-app purchases?
Budgets are doing it as widely accessible as possible, so that economics wouldn't limit somebody's access to Fortnite. And to build a business around that, we offer the optional ability for businesses to purchase these outfits. To improve their appearance, and entirely optional and non-mandatory way.
Do any of the in-app purchases that are offered to users impact gameplay?
No, one of the key principles of Fortnite Battle Royale is that you can never gain an advantage over another human by purchasing any sort of item in the game. All players participate on a level playing field, and the money they spend only determines how they appear or what chances they can do, and not how fast they can run. You can't spend money to go faster, to jump higher, to shoot more accurately, for example.
All right. And have you heard of the phrase out-of-app purchases?
No.
Can you compare in-app purchases to out-of-app purchases insofar as your experience with them relates to Fortnite?
In-app purchasing is far more convenient than out-of-app purchases. Our user is in Fortnite, and we see our user is in Fortnite, and we see an interesting cosmetic item available. In-app purchase makes it possible for them to buy it immediately with just a few taps on their screen, whereas out-of-app purchase would require a player to leave Fortnite, open a web browser, navigate to a web page, and separately make a purchase. Perhaps actually log in separately as well. So out-of-app purchase has far more friction than in-app purchase.
You spoke a few moments ago about Fortnite usage in 2020. Was this lawsuit in any way related to any trends in Fortnite usage in 2020?
No, the lawsuit is entirely about Apple's privacy.
Was there a time when Fortnite was available through Apple's App Store? When was Fortnite first made available in the App Store?
We launched the beta version of Fortnite, I believe, in March 2018. Soon after it was full release in, I believe, April 2018.
Why did Epic launch Fortnite on iOS?
After we launched Fortnite on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, we very quickly realized that Fortnite was transcending gaming. People were often playing it with their friends in a social way that was atypical for traditional games. And we also found many people were gaming with their friends in to play Fortnite, even if their friends were not traditional gamers. And we realized it would be incredibly valuable to open up Fortnite to a much wider audience than the PC or console audience that we had so far reached. Smartphones, both iOS and Android, reached a far larger audience in consoles, and so we really wanted to enable Fortnite players to be able to play with all of their friends across all devices they might own.
Does iOS have any importance to Epic?
iOS is a vital platform for business.
And does iOS have any importance for the future of Epic's business?
Yes.
Can you describe that?
Our aim with Fortnite is to build something like the metaverse from science fiction. And so far we've reached around 400 million participants. And we've largely saturated the available audience of console gamers and PC gamers. And there's a far larger audience of smartphone users, and reaching the entire base of Apple's 1 billion iPhone consumers is a paramount goal for a company as Fortnite expands beyond being a game into the larger world of the metaverse.
Circle now back to some background about Epic. How did Epic Gaming come into existence? Can you describe its origin story?
I started the company in 1991, initially called Atomic Computer Systems, after my hometown. And then at that time I released my first game. And then in 1992, I released my second game called Joe is the Jungle. And upgraded the company name to Epic Mega Games.
And where is Epic's principal place of business?
It's now located in Cary, North Carolina.
Where is Epic incorporated?
Epic is still incorporated in Maryland.
Does Epic have offices other than in Cary, North Carolina?
Yes, Epic has offices all around the United States and around the world.
Can you describe some of the places around the world where Epic has offices?
Certainly, we're in Canada, we're in France, Germany, Sweden, Finland, we have an Asian presence in Korea, Japan, and China.
How many people approximately does Epic employ today?
Epic employs just over 3,200 people now.
In 2020, what were Epic's approximate annual revenues?
It was approximately $5.1 billion in gross revenues in 2020.
And what did Epic do, or what does Epic do with the revenues it earns?
Epic very heavily reinvests in the future.
Types of apps that Epic planned to include in the store when it was first launched?
Our aspiration was to become a general distribution vehicle for any type of software. We were initially thinking about distributing tools from third-party developers because we had a large audience for the Unreal Engine tool. Our intent was to be a broad-based distribution vehicle for any kind of software for the devices we supported.
And today, does the Epic Game Store distribute games? And today, does the Epic Game Store distribute any non-games? Are you familiar with the app Spotify?
No.
What is the app Spotify?
I think that you're making a distinction between today and when the lawsuit was filed, right?
Let me clean that up, Your Honor. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Sweeney, in August of 2020, did the Epic Game Store host any non-game apps?
Yes. Since its inception, the Epic Game Store has hosted the Unreal Engine.
Anything beyond that?
No, not until a month ago.
When did Spotify first go on to the Epic Game Store?
I don't remember the date. I believe it was 4 months ago.
All right. And are there any other non-game apps currently distributed through the Epic Game Store?
Yes, there are several.
Can you name them and the type of app they are for the court?
Certainly, there's the Brave web browser. There's Camshape, a creation tool for artists. There's Itch, ITTH.io, third-party store hosted by us.
Does the Epic Game Store charge developers a commission for the apps that it distributes?
This is a commission only as developers use our payment method, which we provide as an option.
The developer does not use the payment method that EGS provides, does Epic charge a commission in any other way?
The Epic charges no commissions when developers use their own payment method for in-app purchases. Possible that normally to distribute a paid game in the Epic Game Store currently is with the initial paid transaction occurring using Epic's payment method.
All right, so there are two different types of commissions, is that right, through the Epic Game Store?
There is a commission on the initial sales of an app if it's not free. which is mandatory, and then there is a commission on in-app purchases, which is only charged when the developer uses our payment processing method.
How did Epic, what is the commission rate that's charged by the Epic Game Store for the initial purchase of an app?
It's 12% gross revenue.
And how much is the commission rate for that Epic charges for an in-app purchase?
It's 12% when our payment processing is due.
And what does the 12% cover?
12% is intended to cover all of Epic's variable operating costs, the cost of processing an additional transaction. And
does Epic make a profit with its 12% commission, and let's focus on in-app purchases?
Epic makes a gross profit on the variable cost associated with a new purchase, meaning we make more money from the 12% that it typically costs us to cover the cost of that additional purchase. That does not account for all of the gross costs, such as marketing and exclusive products.
Is the Epic Game Store currently profitable?
Well, when you consider all of the costs of the Epic Game Store, it's hundreds of millions of dollars short of being profitable because of the upfront investments we made in the store.
Is that true also in August of 2020? Was the Epic Game Store profitable at that time?
It was not profitable then.
Is there any projection that you have as to when the Epic Game Store will achieve profitability?
I don't have detailed financial projections for the long term, but we have a general expectation of becoming profitable within 3 or 4 years.
Is the Epic Game Store currently available on iOS?
No.
Why not?
It does not allow third parties to distribute stores for iOS.
You mentioned a moment ago that Epic has a payment processing system. Is there a name for that?
You are nowadays calling it Epic Direct Payment.
All right. Where is Epic Direct Payment used?
It's used as the default payment method in the Epic Game Store for Windows and Mac, and it is the payment service that we introduced when we launched Fortnite on iOS. When we launched Fortnite's direct payment service on iOS.
And for third-party developers whose apps are distributed through the Epic Game Store, do they have to use the Epic Direct Payment System?
No, they are not required to.
Prior to August 2020, had the Epic Direct Payment System processed any transactions on any platform?
Yes.
Prior to August of 2020, approximately what was the volume of transactions that the Epic Direct Payment System had processed?
Between the Fortnite open platforms and the Epic Game Store, we had processed over $1 billion of financial transactions.
And are you aware of any security issues introduced onto any devices as a result of the use of the Epic Direct Payment System?
No.
Does Epic have any plans for Epic Direct Payment on iOS?
So Epic introduced the Epic Direct Payment into Fortnite on iOS, and it's a general service that we would like to be able to make available to other developers in the future if we were allowed to.
Are there any benefits that Epic believes is derived from the use of the Epic Direct Payment System?
Yes.
And can you describe this for us?
One is customer contacts us for support. If we process that customer's payment directly, we have far more knowledge about the details of the payment and far more control over issuing refunds or partial refunds or investigating anything that went wrong. Because we have that direct access to our payment service, whereas Apple's in-app purchase system, there's no way to help a customer who needs a refund. We simply have to tell them to go talk to Apple.
Now, let's turn to where Epic does business. Where does Epic do business geographically?
We do business in most of the world.
Let's take some of the business lines one by one. Where geographically is the Epic Game Store available?
It's available for download from any place that you can access our website, and customers are allowed to create accounts for it in any territory that isn't subject to U.S. export restrictions.
And where are the apps that Epic developed available geographically?
Where the Epic Game Store is available.
And is that true with regard to Fortnite?
Yes, with the exception of China, which we're not operating a version of Fortnite that is publicly available.
And we talked about the Unreal Engine. Where is the Unreal Engine available geographically?
The Unreal Engine is available everywhere in the world that isn't subject to certain U.S. export restrictions.
And how about the SDK that is referred to as the EOS, the Epic Online Services? Where is that available geographically?
It is the same. It's the same.
And how about Epic Direct Payment? Where does Epic Direct Payment process transactions geographically?
You process transactions either directly or through payment processing partners in at least 100 different countries.
All right. Let's turn to a different topic. Do you own it?
I want to take a break in 3 minutes, so is now a good time?
Now would be a good time, Your Honor.
Okay. And we'll stand in recess until 1:15. Right?
No, it smells like smoke to me. I know something's coming in through the sandwich back. It smells like cigarette smoke to me. But it just started up a few minutes ago. So I don't know if people are going back out on that same balcony and it's very hot. Yeah. So I'm assuming that you saw those messages about Buzz wanting to meet later today.
Yes, I sent him a message and asked him to just wait till the end of our day. Because I don't think it's helpful to try to do anything about it. And while we're right in the middle of day one. But will you do the
yes.
So I guess it's not as
It really does. It started about 10 minutes ago. Yeah, I think if this has happened in the past, that people would go up on the roof and take smoke breaks, and then it gets sucked in through the HVAC system. But I didn't think anybody was allowed to go out there any longer. I don't know if somebody's just thinking they're speaking out, if they're like, you know, GSA or something.
yeah, they're really going hard to make it Fortnite. Not just about games. So social experience, Facebook. It is all fun, but except I can see the point. I mean, you know, I guess it's an industrial category game. And there's no reason to.
Okay, so.
I realized I forgot.
I would be out for a walk. I was up before I was supposed to go down. I think we did it. I haven't. I thought I could get a nice job on the thing. I thought you did a nice job. And then to the Matthew skeptical of the idea of Fortnite is not social experience. Are you right now?
There were things like those multiplayer on Fortnite.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is.
Yeah, I mean, can't do that all the Warcraft, but you can certainly do other things.
The point isn't that it's really that game. The point is that it's not good and that.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still skeptical.
Okay, I'm gonna go, yeah.
I think we know kind of we're gonna go with it. We're gonna go on. Make it up. You cover that piece, right?
I don't want to be cool. Somebody's go down.
back.
Hi.
I'm vaccinated, don't worry.
That's great, but let's follow protocol.
So Judge Chin and the jury coming in about the same time you have people coming in. I'm just wondering which one is going to be the more priority, the jurors or yours that you don't know, you don't have an answer.
I don't have an answer.
You're supposed to say YGR is more important than
what I want to say is, this is all real stupid and this shouldn't be happening right now. Anyway, I never said that.
Oh, Your Honor, I was just wondering, who's got the priority tomorrow morning if we get backed up? You want your people there, they have to be here at 8 in your courtroom, right? No, well, the jurors are coming in anywhere between 7:30 and... I'm going to tell them the jurors okay. You open up the cut. Okay. All right, but he's in tomorrow, you know that, right? That's Jim? Yeah. Okay. Answer the question.
There you go.
All right, thank you. See you. Nice seeing you back.
Thanks. Hey, did you take your break? Oh, okay, yeah, they're in there. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I know. It's a little weird, but... Yeah. If you need anything else, Francis, let me know. Yeah. Bench training, stuff like that. Yeah. I was going to continue to, I always put my foot up when I listen, like my thing's going. Like all these little things. Right. He has just such a bad accent. Is it an accent? It's not. It's just a moment. No. Like a surfer dude accent or something? Ready Player One? I never saw that movie. No. The gamer guy who put the whole universe together. That's oh. He just. You see that? It's a cute movie. I like it. Oh yeah. Have you ever seen it? That's the movie one. I see.
You don't want to say anything? No, I am. not there. Convene a law clerk discussion of overnight.
If we could, yeah.
I said like 5.
Okay.
I was going to ask how it
It's probably best if it's something that needs to be posted in a quick manner. I mean, I don't know. We could ask her. She's always like staying up way too late trying to post stuff. So, I would like to close that door just so people don't sneak up on me if I have the headphones on to block out the work that's going on outside. And because I did have like a CSO walk in on me, and I didn't realize he was there. It was right here. Well, I just want to let you know. I can close it. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to close it. So it's unlocked.
Okay.
standard, right?
You got that? Just the test. Just the test. Just the test. Let's do one.
So I'm going to have to go through more, and he's going to have to.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to. There's sound. It takes a second to come up. So. I'm testing on the defense table right now, just so everybody checks knows. I'm testing on the defense everything.
Now let's discuss a research system designed.
Okay. All right. I'm going to switch back because plaintiff will move it over there and switch over plaintiff. Okay, mics are on. The mics are on the tables. Mics are on. We'll have you hear conversations at the table. Okay.
You can go ahead and sit there. Watch when she comes back into the be over here, and then when she comes back in, we'll get you on the stand. Unless Ms. Jones, you put the witnesses on the stand before the judge comes back in?
Yeah, it's fine to go up. That's fine. Thank you for asking me. Mr. Doran, I turned on that front mic in case you wanted, though you've been great about standing up if you needed to say, it's up to you. Standing is good, but I did turn on that. Yeah, just go ahead and tap it. I've got it, I'm going to sure I've got the right one turned on. Yeah, just to let you know, but okay. Yeah, and then I do the same on the plaintiff's table, turn on the one mode. But just to let you know, all the sound now at the table will be carried over the hot mic. Okay, the judge is going to come right out at 1:15. That's 2 minutes. 2 minute warning.
And do you have water up there?
I mean, I'm just, you know what? I just want you to know we have someone who has friends who you can get a so that's our so, right, either way, yeah, yeah. All right, remain seated, court is in session, come to order.
All right, we are back on the record. Also, we reflect that the parties are present. Mr. Sweeney is on the stand. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Sweeney, does Epic make any apps for smartphones?
Yes.
What is a smartphone?
A smartphone is, to me, it's a portable supercomputer. It has the capabilities of a cell phone. It has a high-resolution screen, touch input, and internet connectivity that is connected to a cellular network.
And are you familiar with the term feature phone?
Yes.
What is a feature phone?
Feature phone is something like a cell phone that can manipulate a device for making phone calls and sending and receiving text messages, but generally that's the ability to run sophisticated apps.
And does Epic make any apps for feature phones?
No.
Why not?
Feature phones don't have nearly the performance or features required to run modern apps or entertainment experience like Fortnite.
Let's talk about the word native app. Are you familiar with that phrase?
Yes.
What is a native app?
Native app is a program that is able to run directly on the hardware of the device and has full access to the CPU, the device's processor and graphics capabilities as the extent the operating system exposes them, and it runs at full performance on the device.
And you used the phrase operating system. What's an operating system?
An operating system is a piece of software that runs at the highest level of security on the device and maintains the isolation of applications running on the device and supports them. The operating system ensures that apps don't access, they're not allowed to access, and prevents apps from interfering with each other.
And can you name some types of operating systems?
For computer operating systems like Apple's macOS and Microsoft Windows, and smartphone operating system like iOS and Android and others.
And does Nintendo for the Switch have an operating system? And does it have a particular name?
Generally, the console platforms use proprietary operating systems or variations of an open source operating system that aren't given a brand name for themselves.
So is that true also for Xbox? Does Xbox have an operating system?
Yes.
And it doesn't have a particular name?
I think it has various things it's referred to as internally, but it isn't marketed as a brand.
Is Fortnite available as a native app?
Yes.
On what platforms is Fortnite available as a native app?
Currently, Windows, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and Android.
And
Android.
And prior to August 2020, was Fortnite available as a native app on any other platform in addition to the ones you just mentioned?
Yes, it was also available on iOS and macOS.
Why did Epic make Fortnite available on so many platforms?
Fortnite is a social experience. The key to its success and longevity is the ability for players to connect with all of their friends. And so that requires supporting all of, not only the device that you might own as a gamer, but all of the devices your friends might own in order to connect to them.
Let's talk about the iOS platform. What are the ways to distribute a native app on the iOS platform?
The iOS App Store is the general way of distributing apps to consumers. However, Apple makes a number of other mechanisms available for limited purpose distribution, for example, to enterprise employees or to testers working on a software development environment.
In your experience, is the enterprise way of distributing an iOS app open to consumers for native app distribution?
No, Apple forbids its Apple Enterprise Program mechanisms of software installation on iOS from being used for consumer app distribution.
You also mentioned a test environment. Is that test environment available for consumers for native iOS app distribution?
It's not available for general distribution of apps to consumers. If a particular consumer were participating in a small-scale test, you might be able to access a given app that way.
Are you familiar with the term side loading?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Side loading refers to the ability to install software onto a device from a source other than the platform's official store.
Does iOS allow side loading generally for consumers?
iOS does not allow side loading.
Does the Mac OS environment allow for side loading?
Yes.
Let's talk about something called a web app. Are you familiar with that term?
Yes.
What's a web app?
A web app is an application written to run within a web browser using the web browser's limited technologies for display, such as HTML, and its limited abilities for programming, such as JavaScript. A web app will generally run within a web browser on different platforms.
So how is a web app different from a native app?
A web app is limited to the set of APIs available within a web browser, which are considerably more limited and less powerful than the capabilities available to native apps. And we also have memory limitations and other constraints applied to them within this web browser environment.
Is Fortnite available as a web app?
No.
Why not?
Web web apps are not nearly powerful enough to run a modern 3D real-time experience such as Fortnite.
Have you heard of the phrase video game streaming?
Yes.
What does that phrase mean?
Game streaming refers to an emerging usage scenario where a user will attempt to play a game on a device while the software for the game is actually running on a server hosted somewhere else in the cloud. And instead of the software running natively on the user's device, the user's device essentially sends input over to the cloud server. The cloud server runs the app and then streams video at the user's device so the user can see what the app is doing on the cloud server and be able to interact with cloud-hosted apps in real time.
So in the streaming scenario, the app is running off of a server, and in the native environment, it's running off of the operating system directly?
Yes.
And do you have any understanding as to whether or not the user experience for Fortnite differs at all when an app for Fortnite is being streamed versus run natively?
Yes.
Could you describe that to the court, please?
In the case of web streaming, the experience is very highly dependent on the quality of the user's internet connection. But rather than seeing your actions reflected immediately on screen, you have to wait for your input to be sent to the server and for the resulting video to be sent back to you. And so, unless the user has a very high quality internet connection and is very close to the data center, the experience is degraded often significantly, both in the form of reduced bandwidth, so lower graphical quality, and higher latency, meaning more lag between when you try to aim in Fortnite and when you actually see the resulting movement occur. And then additionally, there are significant costs associated with hosting the servers in the cloud. Instead of running the application on the device which the user has already purchased, there's additional hardware involved that has to be paid for somehow, and that has to be paid for.
Is Fortnite currently available for streaming on iOS?
Yes.
Does Epic have any plans to make Fortnite available for streaming on iOS?
Yes. Epic is working with NVIDIA and their GeForce, GeForce now service to experiment and privately test a version of Fortnite which runs on NVIDIA servers but which players can experience from an iOS device using the Safari web browser.
As you sit here today, do you have any view as to whether or not that would provide a user experience comparable to the use of Fortnite running as a native app?
Well, in my experience using it, it has significantly higher latency and lower graphical quality. For other users, the experience varies, and certainly there will be additional costs and for users in order to access the game in this way.
Can you explain what you mean by additional costs for users?
Yes. Well, with NVIDIA's GeForce Now service, to be able to play a game anytime, you have to be a subscriber and pay a fee to NVIDIA. So they have a free version of the service where users can line up and wait for a free server to become available so they can play. So these costs are the costs associated with buying additional hardware since the device isn't running on since the application is not running on the device the user already owns. An additional cost of bandwidth needed to move the data back and forth, and the cost of bandwidth is to some extent attributed to the data center using the bandwidth, but also if the user is using a smartphone and a wireless data plan, then there would be perhaps additional charges for very high bandwidth usage.
I'm familiar with something called a console.
Yes.
What is a console?
Console is a fixed function device that is typically plugged into a television and controlled using a game controller or joystick. Focused specifically on games and entertainment experiences. Some of the consoles are seeing videos through Netflix and other services.
And what companies make consoles?
Microsoft makes Xbox, Sony makes PlayStation, and Nintendo makes the Switch.
And do you have familiarity with the Microsoft Xbox?
Yes.
And do you have familiarity with the performance of the Microsoft Xbox?
Yes.
Do you have familiarity with the performance of the Sony PlayStation?
Yes.
And do you have familiarity with the Nintendo Switch performance?
Yes.
Is Fortnite available on each of the devices, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch?
Yes.
Are there any differences that you're aware of in the performance of Fortnite on a console versus on a smartphone?
Yes, the performance of Fortnite on the Nintendo Switch is similar to many smartphones. The performance of Fortnite on Xbox and PlayStation is typically much higher. You have higher graphics fidelity. You have certain graphical features which are available only on high-end consoles and PCs, such as advanced shadows and reflections that make the 3D world of Fortnite more realistic.
Are you familiar with the power source for the Switch?
Yes, the Switch is unique in that it can either be plugged into the wall and a television and run with very high performance, or it can be used as a handheld device that's not plugged in using a battery and connected to a Wi-Fi network.
How does the performance of Fortnite in particular vary between the smartphone and the Switch, if there is any difference?
The performance of Fortnite on smartphones and Switch is similar. The big difference with Switch is that it only works when it's connected to a Wi-Fi network, so you can't use it in as many on-the-go scenarios.
All right, I'm going to show you some devices and ask you if you recognize them. I'll put you
So, Ms. Forrest, as you know, are movable, if you're not standing with the mic, no one outside this courtroom, and in fact, maybe not even people in the courtroom can hear you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bornstein, maybe you all can move that table over for her so that she can actually access it while she's at the mic.
Mr. Sweeney, I'd like to show you a device that has been labeled for identification as PX277. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may. Am I going to get to take this one home? I've mentioned before, my daughter uses the Switch, so.
Mr. Sweeney, do you recognize the device that I have placed in your hand that has been marked for identification as PX277?
Yes, it's the PlayStation 5.
All right, and why don't you put that one down? And let me show you what's been marked for identification as PX2778. Mr. Sweeney, do you recognize what's been marked for identification as PX2778?
Yes, this is an Xbox Series X.
And lastly, let me show you what's been marked for identification as PX2776. Mr. Sweeney, do you recognize what's been marked as PX2776?
Yes, this is a Nintendo Switch.
Your Honor, I would offer these two devices, PX2777, 2778, and 2776 into evidence.
Okay, well, I'll admit them, and we will, I do have to say, one of my favorite cases was a wine trademark case, and I admitted into evidence about 30 bottles of wine. And at the end of the case, I did send out an order to all the parties saying, within the next 30 days, you must retrieve all your evidence or the court will dispose of it. At which point in day 31, all of the law clerks came to chamber and we promptly disposed of the evidence. Go ahead.
Mr. Sweeney, does Epic have any Fortnite distribution agreements with console makers?
Yes.
And does Epic pay the console makers any form of compensation in connection with those distribution agreements?
Yes.
And what's the word for the compensation that's paid?
It's generally called a commission or a console fee.
And what's the typical, if there is a typical commission that Epic pays to the console makers for distribution?
It's 30%.
And prior to August 2020, did Epic pay Apple a commission in connection with the distribution of Fortnite?
Yes.
In Epic's view, is there a difference between the 30% commission that it pays to console makers and the 30% commission it paid to Apple prior to August 2020?
Objecting, Your Honor. First of all, foundation. The question was, is this to Epic as opposed to Mr. Stoney? And second of all, it calls for a narrative.
Okay, I'm sorry?
He said it calls for a narrative. I don't think it calls for a narrative. That's overruled. But you can rephrase with respect to the other.
Mr. Sweeney, in your view as the CEO of Epic, is there any difference between the 30% commission that is paid to console makers by Epic and the 30% commission that's paid by Epic to Apple?
Yes.
Can you please describe that for the court?
Yes, the general bug in the console industry has long been the idea that console hardware is often sold at below its manufacturing cost in order to bring in a larger user base. And then that cost is offset by contributions by the software developers to the hardware. And so the intended effect of this is quite different in the smartphone model, where the user buys a device, business is typically making a profit, and then the publishers are forced to pay a commission to the platform maker outside of any negotiated economic bargain, which is aimed at making hardware more widely available to customers in a generally.
Could I ask you, Fortnite, is there a version of Fortnite that you're using right now? Or is it just Fortnite? Is it Fortnite 10, Fortnite 2.0?
Yeah, well, Fortnite's just evolving. We've never created a sequel.
Okay. So in 2007 or 2008, was Fortnite, the technology required to play Fortnite, could that have been played on an iPhone?
No, Your Honor. In that time frame, the iPhone was not powerful enough to play a game as graphically elaborate as Fortnite.
So even though you mentioned that there's something about the console hardware, Apple did have to do something to the iPhone itself, right, in terms of the technology of the iPhone, in order for it to be sophisticated enough to play your software.
Yeah.
So how is that any different from consoles? Not so much about the payment piece, but about the development of the technology that allows your product to be played.
Well, the development of the hardware technology and the operating system is very similar. My comparison is only between the differences of the business models underlying the different platforms.
Yes, let me just see, Your Honor, if I can ask a few questions in that area. Mr. Sweeney, are there any graphical performance differences between the iPhone as it exists in August 2020 and the consoles as they existed in August 2020?
Yes, the consoles have considerably more graphics performance, therefore the capability of displaying more realistic images.
And are there any other differences between the speed at which the consoles were able to execute the Fortnite application on consoles versus on a smartphone?
Consoles generally have more computing performance, so they're able to run more realistic simulations such as particle systems.
Does Epic distribute Fortnite on PCs?
Yes.
And how is Fortnite obtained for a PC?
Fortnite on PC is available from the Epic Games Store. You obtain it by installing the Epic Games Store from our website if you don't already have it, and then clicking a button to download Fortnite, which is available for free.
All right. And can you compare the performance of Fortnite on a PC versus the performance on a smartphone?
The PC ranges from very low-end laptop devices, which have
low-end laptop
devices, which have similar performance to a high-end smartphone, all the way up to desktop PCs, which have far more performance, sometimes 20 times more graphics performance.
And do these differences and similarities have any significance for gaming?
Yes, it makes the experience of Fortnite very different between console, PC, and smartphone devices.
Let's change topics for a moment. And you mentioned Project Liberty earlier, and at the very outset of the testimony. What was Project Liberty?
Project Liberty was the code name that we gave within Epic to our project to challenge the smartphone makers' policies, both Apple's and Google's.
Let's put Project Liberty to one side for a moment. Can you think of any instances in which that you're aware of when Epic deliberately broke any Apple rules in connection with the distribution of Fortnite on iOS, other than Project Liberty?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Has Epic ever operated at variance from Apple's policies that you're aware of?
Yes.
And can you describe the instances or instances that you're aware of?
There's two general cases. One is we've found a misunderstanding of policies, or we've had bugs in our software which caused a policy violation. And number two, we've at many times talked to Apple about the policy and received a waiver from the policy either for a limited period of time or in general.
All right. Are you familiar with something called the Apple Enterprise Program?
Yes.
What is that?
The Apple Enterprise Program is an Apple program enabling corporations to develop software for iOS and to distribute their iOS software directly to their employees without being subject to the iOS review guidelines and without distributing their app to the iOS App Store.
Are you familiar with something called an Enterprise Certificate?
Yes.
What is that?
This is a software signing certificate which enables an enterprise, a corporation, to place their own stamp of approval on software and allowing users to have that certificate installed on their iOS device to install software from that corporation without going through the App Store.
Was there ever any time that Epic considered the feasibility of using an enterprise certificate to distribute an app?
Yes, I started a project to explore the technical and legal feasibility of using Apple Enterprise certificates in order to distribute software directly to consumers on iOS.
Did Epic ever distribute an app to consumers using an Apple Enterprise certificate?
No.
Let's turn to the summer of 2020. Did there come a time when Apple removed Fortnite from the App Store?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately the date?
That was August 13th, 2020.
All right. Prior to August 13th, 2020, did you have any discussions with Apple regarding any changes that you wanted them to make?
Yes, Epic has attempted to have discussions with Apple leadership since at least 2015, and possibly earlier. We received no Apple had not been willing to have a serious discussion on the topic. So around June of 2020, I sent Apple leadership a letter with some very specific requests by Epic to Apple to allow us to release an iOS, a store for iOS, and to accept direct payments on iOS.
Was there other correspondence that you exchanged with Apple prior to August 2020 that relates to the same general set of issues?
I remember
You don't have to describe all of them, just whether or not there was.
I think there were around a dozen outreach attempts by myself and Epic Vice President Mark Bain, REIM, to try to arrange a meeting with Apple leadership folks to discuss opening up iOS as a platform. And other than a chance encounter between myself and Mike Fisher for about 5 minutes, there was no discussion at all.
I'd like to show you what's been marked for identification as DX4477. Your Honor, may I approach? On the list that had been provided earlier, it came up during the opening this morning, so I can provide Your Honor with a copy right now, or the clerk if you'd like.
Okay, that's fine. 4477.
DX4477. Would the clerks like a copy as well?
Okay, I should say there were no discussions between Epic and Apple leadership folks other than the Matt Fisher discussion. I found the opportunity to share my thoughts with various Apple employees at a lower level.
Do you have a copy, Mr. Bourne?
I do.
Could you view this document, Mr. Sweeney, and let me know when you've done so?
Yes.
All right. Can you recognize it's been marked for identification as DX4477?
Yes. This is the email I sent to the Apple executive team on June 30 asking for permission to do these things.
Oh, and Your Honor, I would offer DX4477 into evidence.
Ya abre el laptop. Bueno, no le pongo el laptop.
Mr. Sweeney, this morning during the opening,
and second, to express the hope that Apple will make these features available to all developers.
where in the letter is there a reference to Epic asking to have these features made available to all developers?
In the fourth paragraph, I say, we hope Apple will also make these options equally available to all iOS developers in order to make software sales and distribution on the iOS platform as open and competitive as it is on personal computers.
What was the purpose of the reference to side letter in this document, DX4477?
My understanding is Epic was under a contract of adhesion, a non-negotiable contract, and before essentially going to war with Apple over the policies, I felt that Epic should make all attempts because in order to seek an agreed resolution to our concerns.
Now,
Your Honor, you described as a legal statement of a legal conclusion.
Overruled. can testify to his belief.
Thank you, Ron.
Let's talk about Project Liberty. What was Project Liberty?
Project Liberty was ethics, was the code name used internally with an ethic to refer to our overarching effort to challenge Apple and Google's smartphone policies.
When did Project Liberty start?
The idea for Project Liberty developed throughout 2019. We began making significant planning and preparation for it in early 2020, and from the end of the first quarter of 2020 had made our plan of record to pursue Project Liberty and to challenge Apple and Google.
And did Epic make any preparations in connection with Project Liberty?
Yes, we spent many months on extensive preparation throughout many different parts of the company.
Why?
Because we were challenging the two most powerful companies in the world, and it would have been foolish to do anything else.
Let's talk about what happened on August 13th, 2020. What happened on that day with regard to the Fortnite app on iOS?
Epic had prepared a hotfix, basically a server-side change.
Hold on a bit of the court reporter, I think didn't quite get that.
Hotfix. Hotfix.
Hotfix, which is a server-side configuration change made by Epic, which instructs the Fortnite software that was already on users' devices to change its configuration in some way. We make a lot of hotfixes, but this one was very unlike all of the others, in that this hotfix enabled Epic's direct payment system to become available on iOS, which we did at Friday and Eastern time on August 13th, 2020.
Let's stop there for a moment. Let me just ask you to tell the court what a server-side change means.
Certainly, a server-side change or hotfix is a common technique used by developers to update their apps without submitting a new version to the iOS app review process. It's commonly used to update minor features of an app. For example, to update the Fortnite catalog of items that are available. It changes daily. It makes other configuration changes. A hotfix does not involve installing the code on an iOS device. Rather, it relies on just giving the existing code on the iOS devices new instructions on what it should display.
Was there any pricing action?
You agree that it wasn't a minor feature, right? You agree?
Yes, absolutely. The introduction of Epic Direct Payment was a very major change.
Right. So even though hotfixes are used for minor features, you used it for a different purpose.
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Did you understand that the hotfix was in violation of Apple's terms and conditions?
Yes, the hotfix turned on Epic Direct Payment, which we understand was in direct violation of Apple's terms.
And you understood that prior to August 13th, 2020?
Yes.
Why did Epic plan deliberately to violate Apple's rules?
To show the world through action exactly what the ramifications of Apple's policies were. Because I thought it was very easy to mistake Apple's business model for just software distribution. Whereas I wanted the world to see that Apple exercises total control over the availability of all software on iOS, and that users that control, they can use that control to deny users access to apps that have things that they...
Mr. Sweeney, at this time, before you did this, did you contact the lawyers who had already sued Apple on this same topic? The lawyers who were representing a class of developers? Did you contact them?
I don't know if the council contacted them or not. I wasn't involved in any contact.
But you knew that there was a lawsuit already on behalf of all developers against Apple, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And you just ignored that and went forward on your own.
Did Epic take any pricing action on August 13th of 2020?
Yes.
Can you describe that for the court?
Yes, so at the same time we introduced this hotfix on iOS, we introduced a different hotfix on other platforms, implementing what we call the Fortnite Mega Drop, which represented an approximately 20% price drop in the price of Fortnite items offered in a to users for sale. With the distinction on iOS and Android platforms being that users who use Epic's direct payment system could purchase items at Epic's new discounted rates, while whereas customers who use Apple's in-app purchase system or Google's were offered the previous rates that had been in effect before the price drop.
Was there any relationship between the Mega Drop and the implementation of the hotfix on iOS?
Yes. I wanted to demonstrate to the world that Epic was using direct payment in order to pass on savings to consumers on iOS and Android. So that the correlation between these 30% platform fees or commissions and consumer prices was made abundantly clear.
Approximately how many hours after the hotfix that put Epic Direct Pay onto iOS was activated did Apple remove Fortnite or delist it from the App Store?
My recollection, which is the study, is between 7 and 9 hours between release of the hotfix and Apple removing Fortnite from distribution.
Was there any impact on Fortnite users as a result of that delisting?
Yes. Users who did not have Fortnite on their devices were not able to install Fortnite anew. And users who did have a working version of Fortnite on iOS were able to continue using it, but could not upgrade to the latest version.
Do you know whether, subsequent to the implementation of the hotfix, any users actually transacted any business through Epic Direct Pay?
Yes.
And do you know whether, have you learned of any security issues that their use of Epic Direct Pay introduced onto any iOS device?
No.
Do you know of any security issues that the hotfix itself introduced onto any iOS device?
No.
Did Apple take any other steps after removing Fortnite from the App Store in relation to Epic as a result of the hotfix?
Yes. Apple also sent Epic a letter saying that they would remove our access to Apple platforms, meaning the iOS and Mac, which of course would deprive us of the ability to develop software for those platforms.
And what is the status today of Epic's Direct Pay on the iOS devices that had it in place as of August 13th, 2020?
So at the time we introduced the hotfix, we offered both Apple's payment service and Epic side by side. About 2 weeks later, Apple removed Epic's access to use Apple's in-app purchase system. And so users who still had Fortnite on their devices at that point were only able to make purchases using Epic's direct payment system.
Can users, iOS users who had the Fortnite app on their devices as of August 13th, 2020, engage in play today for interaction with Fortnite users on any other? Device with Fortnite users on
All allowed the players on other platforms to get the latest version and move on, while iOS players were left behind on the old version. And they were only compatible with other iOS players, and so those iOS players can now only play with other iOS players.
Did any consumers respond to the availability of Epic's Direct Pay on iOS on August 13th, 2020?
Yes.
One moment, please. I have no further questions, Your Honor. At this time, the witness is turned up as a cross-examination. Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Accidentally throw it where, people throw them away. Once rain or water catch them, they're made. You never use a straw. Can't stay in a juice them too long. Have to take them out, and then just melt.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sweeney.
Yes, sir.
I have looked at you through a Zoom screen, and now I'm looking at you through 4 pieces of plastic, but we will muddle through. I would just like to start with a couple of points that Ethics Council raised with you. The first one being one of the last points, which was about the 20% mega drop that was on August 13th, 2020. Do you recall that topic?
Yes.
And you testified, at least as I heard it, that the reason that this 20% price drop was made was to show the correlation between the 30% platform fee and price pressure. Is that right?
I think I said specifically our goal was to demonstrate on platforms that removal of the platform fees result in savings on platforms. I believe I said that we wanted to demonstrate the platform owners that removing the platform fees resulted in savings to them.
And after the hotfix was implemented, as you've already noted, Apple took Fortnite off the store, correct?
Yes.
And Fortnite continued to be available on, for example, Microsoft Xbox, PlayStation, and Sony PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch, correct?
Yes.
And each of those, the players on each of those consoles receive a 20% price discount on all V-Bucks, correct?
Yes.
But Epic continued to pay a 30% commission to Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft, correct?
Yes.
So the fact that there was a 20% decrease in price had nothing to do with the elimination of a 30% commission on any of those 3 platforms, correct?
Correct. We subscribed to the idea of subsidized hardware and felt that we were a beneficiary of that and wanted to support that.
There were 2 reasons why you lowered the prices, right? One was for a public relations campaign to back up your Project Liberty plot against Apple, correct?
We wanted to demonstrate the savings. Yes, we explained it to the public CPI.
The other was to try and create some excitement around buying making more in-app purchases within Fortnite because you were concerned that interest in the game was flagging over the long run, correct?
The first part is correct, the second part is not.
You drink it?
And you continue today to pay 30% commissions to Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, correct?
Yes.
And the price of V-Bucks continues to be 20% lower than it was on August 12, 2020, correct?
Yes.
We also heard quite a bit about Unreal Engine.
Yes.
And I'd like to read you a few statements from Counsel for Epic at the August 19, 2020 scheduling hearing, and I would like you to tell me whether you agree with these statements. of all, Unreal Engine is not party to the same contractual arrangements with Apple that are applicable to Fortnite. Is that a true statement?
Yes, that's my understanding.
It's a different company. Is that a true statement?
I think my understanding is the Unreal Engine software distributed on iOS is distributed through different companies. And Epic Games Incorporated.
And that company is in Switzerland, correct?
Yes.
And again, quoting counsel, the Unreal Engine has nothing to do with the Apple App Store. Is that statement correct?
I think there are relationships between the Unreal Engine and the Apple App Store. We power apps that are on the Apple App Store.
So in other words, Unreal Engine is a game engine, is that right?
Unreal Engine is used for games and other non-gaming usage in enterprise applications.
It's something that developers use in creating games or other applications. It's not a consumer-facing product, correct?
That's right.
And again, quoting counsel, it has nothing to do with Epic Pay, correct?
Correct.
It's really apples and oranges, Fortnite versus Unreal Engine, correct?
Unreal Engine is the engine that powers Fortnite, but they are separate products. Fortnite is for consumers, Unreal Engine is for developers.
And just to be clear, there is no Unreal Engine app for Unreal Engine itself on iOS, correct?
That's right. There are several Unreal Engine-related tools on iOS, but they are not the main Unreal Engine editor app. It runs on Windows and Mac.
And to be clear, as of today, Unreal Engine continues to have access to all of Apple's developer tools, and it continues to support developers who are making apps for iOS, correct?
Yes, of course.
And one of the reasons that Unreal Engine is a successful business is because it helps developers to create apps for 8 different operating platforms, correct?
Yes.
So in other words, it creates a place where developers can tap into your company, Unreal Engine, your other company's expertise, in order to write apps for a variety of operating systems so that they don't have to try and untangle the differences among those 8 different platforms, correct?
Yes, the developers do have to do some work specific to the platforms that they are releasing products on. They eliminate much of the work, but not all of it.
And early on in your testimony, and actually, I'm going to get back now to the Epic opening statement. Counsel for your company said that this case is not about the purchase of paid apps, it's only about in-app purchases. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes, Epic doesn't challenge Apple's right to take a fee for the distribution of these data.
So if an app requires payment when it's downloaded, Epic has no quarrel with that.
The paid app, then yes.
And Epic has no quarrel with a 30% commission being charged on paid apps, correct?
We certainly do have a quarrel if Apple presents the existence of competing app stores, which will provide comparative pressure to discount prices. But if there were comparative app stores in iOS and Epic, wouldn't have any dispute with that approach.
Interesting. Let's focus on my question. Epic does not dispute that Apple may charge a 30% commission on paid app downloads, correct?
To the extent the iOS platform will open competing stores that could offer other deals, Epic doesn't continue with Apple's payment processing rates.
So your only issue with Apple, more broadly than in-app purchases, is that you wish that Apple permitted other stores in the App Store, correct?
The Apple promoted other stores in the App Store. The Apple promoted other stores on the iOS platform, including stores that could be installed from the web, and that Apple allowed receiving payment processing methods in-apps in the iOS App Store.
So along with permitting other stores within Apple Store, you would want Apple to permit other stores to be side-loaded into the iOS environment.
Yes.
You own a controlling interest in Epic Games, is that correct?
Yes, my understanding is currently that my shareholding is the controlling shareholding.
What?
My understanding is my holdings of Epic stock will be the controlling shareholder in Epic Games.
Okay.
And Epic was recently valued at $28.7 billion, correct?
Yes.
And I believe we've heard this already, but I just want to be clear. You set the overall strategy for the company as CEO, correct?
Yes.
And you set the overall strategy in terms of this lawsuit that's been brought in this court, correct?
Yes, I did.
Now, Epic joined Apple's developer program in 2010.
I did about it.
And you do recall, and it's in your proposed findings of fact, that Epic joined the Apple developer program in 2010. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And at that time, Epic signed the developer license agreement, we discussed the developer license agreement, and a contract known as, let me start over. At that time, Epic signed an Apple developer agreement, correct?
I don't have a recollection of the specific contracts that were in place at that time, but I agree that Epic signed the required contracts with Apple.
All right. And you would have you wouldn't question that one is an Apple developer agreement, and then the second is a developer program license agreement, correct?
Yes.
And you understand the Apple developer agreement, it makes tools available for people who simply want to learn to write iOS apps?
Yes.
And you know that license is free for the person who enters into it, correct?
I think so.
And as to these licenses, and in particular the DPLA, which again would be the acronym for Developer Program License Agreement, as the name suggests, that's a license agreement, isn't it?
Yes.
And you understand that Epic has licensed Apple's intellectual property through that agreement, correct?
Yes.
And that license has limitations and restrictions on what Epic can do with Apple's intellectual property, correct?
Yes.
And that includes, under that license, Apple software, including its SDKs, APIs, and other developer tools, right?
Yes.
Now, the first game that Epic put on iOS or made available in the App Store was Infinity Blade. Is that right?
Yes.
And was that a paid app?
Yes.
And at the time, do you recall that Apple first made in-app purchase available in 2009?
Yes.
And that would have been before you joined the developer program, correct?
Yes.
And you recall that at the time you signed those contracts that Apple prohibited at that time in 2010, a store within a store? A store within a store?
I think that was true of software stores within a store, but not necessarily other types of stores.
And you would agree, Mr. Sweeney, that at the time you became a member, or Epic became a member of the developer program, that Apple also prohibited the use of alternative payment processes, correct?
My understanding is that is true with respect to the purchase of digital goods that can be consumed in it.
So your complaints here today, as I understand them, are Apple's charging a commission on in-app purchases, Apple's prohibiting Epic from putting a store within the App Store or side-loading one onto iOS, and Apple's requirement that all payments be made using its commerce technology, correct? Those are your 4 complaints?
Yes.
Now, all 4 of those limitations have been in the Apple DCLA and guidelines since 2009, correct?
I don't have any reason to question that.
Now, before Epic signed these contracts with Apple, you had your lawyers look at them, correct?
Yes.
And they reviewed them, and you discussed the terms with them before you signed the contracts, correct?
I never always reviewed them. I know I was aware of them before we signed the contract.
And after understanding the terms and after conferring with counsel, Epic chose to enter into those contracts in 2010, right?
Yes.
Epic didn't raise any objections with Apple about the contracts at the time, did it?
No.
And Epic didn't dispute that Apple had the right to decide what apps it put in its App Store, did it?
I have criticized that position numerous times in over the past decade. Certainly Epic, when it signed the agreement, hadn't made formal objections to the terms.
So in other words, at the time you signed the contract, you didn't voice any complaint or have any dispute with Apple directly about its right to decide what apps it placed in its App Store, correct?
I'm not sure about that. I know we did not attempt to renegotiate that term of the contract.
And Epic didn't object to the 30% commission charged by Apple on sales of digital content through the App Store, correct?
I don't remember.
In August 2020, now we've heard a little bit about Project Liberty and a little bit about what motivated you, but let's speak plainly. In August 2020, you, as a shot caller at Epic, chose to intentionally breach your contract with Apple, correct?
Yes.
And again, so we're sure of what this involved, you put undisclosed code in a bill with Fortnite, correct?
Yes.
With the goal that it would not be discovered by Apple through the app review process, right?
Yes.
That's part of why you made it a server-side trigger, so that it couldn't be found when you submitted the build, right?
Yes.
And Epic used that code weeks later to place an alternative payment function in Fortnite, correct? The Epic Direct Pay function?
Yes.
So the payments could be made directly to Epic Games, right?
Yes, through a payment processor like using.
And Epic could avoid its contractual obligation to pay Apple a commission, correct?
Yes.
And you knew, at the time you did that it would lead to the removal of Epic from the developer program, right?
I wasn't certain of that. I was very aware of the possibility of it and even the likelihood of it, but I was not completely certain that Apple would respond by removing Fortnite.
You hope maybe they give in to the pressure given the popularity of Fortnite, right?
I hope Apple would seriously reconsider its policy then and there.
And in fact, Apple has given you the opportunity and has left the opportunity open for Epic to come back into the App Store simply by coming into compliance with its contractual obligation during the pendency of this litigation. You know that, don't you?
Yes.
But you have chosen not to take that path, correct?
Okay.
Let's go back in time. Let's change topics here and go back in time. We'll come back to Project Liberty later in time. But back in the 1990s, Epic began distributing games for other developers, correct?
We began publicly doing for other developers.
And the commission that you were charging at that time, or rather the royalty that you paid the developers. So let me start over because I have now conflated two things. The royalty that Epic paid developers for the games that it published was 40%, correct?
Yes.
mentioned that Epic retained 60% of the revenue, correct?
Yes.
And that was a good deal in your eyes for the developers in that era. Is that true?
Yes.
And Epic maintained that 60-40 revenue share for all of its publishing work until at least 2008, correct?
I believe the efforts for publishing third-party games were wound down in 1997 to 1999.
And that's in your own contract with the publisher?
Yes, so that point Epic had shifted away from publishing other companies' products to developing our products themselves.
And at 60-40, the revenue share offered by Epic was in fact better than the typical game publisher paid developers, wasn't it?
Yes.
The typical arrangement was that the publisher kept 70 to 85% of the revenue. Is that right?
Yes.
And that the developers were 15 to 30%. Correct?
Yes.
Now, I know, sir, from our past discussions, you're familiar with a digital game transaction platform called Steam.
I'm aware of the PC game store called Steam.
And that's owned by a company called Valve, is that right?
Yes.
And Steam is a digital game store, as you say, that sells games for PCs.
PC and Mac.
Okay, and just so the record's clear, those are the two platforms for which it sells games, PCs and Macs.
And also Linux.
That's the Linux operating system.
Yes.
And Steam began business in 2003, correct?
That's my recollection.
And Steam offered developers a much different revenue share than game publishers did at the time, right?
Steam offered, yes, a better revenue share for developers and publishers.
And that revenue share was that developers received 70% of the revenue, correct?
Yes.
And that Steam kept 30%, right?
Yes.
And Steam was the first digital game distribution, a digital game transaction platform to have any sort of large-scale commercial success, right?
Even was the first really mainstream successful PC game store.
And any type of digital game store, correct? Not just PC. It was the first commercial success as a digital game platform, correct?
You know where to go to look?
Yes, my lord.
Yeah, you should go to the windows that are near the elevator.
Was
Lines that you don't have attorneys interaction with you. Try not to let them see what you're doing. Might be better to go down the floor, frankly. Might be better to go down.
Steam launched in 2003,
and I'm willing to do that.
Other digital game transaction platforms soon followed, correct?
Yes.
Xbox Live Marketplace launched in 2005. Do you recall that?
Yes, or thereabouts.
And some PlayStation Store launched in that same time frame?
I think it was several years later, but several years.
The 2000, if I told you 2006, would that refresh your recollection?
No, but I don't have any reason to disagree.
And the Nintendo game store opened in that same time frame, correct? In each of those stores, Xbox Live, Sony PlayStation Store, and the Nintendo Store, they each offered the same 70-30 revenue share that Steam did, correct?
That's my understanding.
And other digital game stores came online during that same period and also charged a 30% commission, sending 70% of the revenue to the distributor, correct? Excuse me, the developer, correct?
I'm not aware of other game stores that came online before 2010, but they certainly did following 2010.
Well, we know, for instance, that Google Play came online in 2009, correct?
Oh, yes, right.
And it charged 70-30, correct? Yeah. And still does today? Yeah. And by the way, excuse me, we'll get there. And then, of course, you know that the Apple App Store also launched in 2009, correct? Yes. Now, Epic, just again recapping here, Epic currently offers Fortnite on the PlayStation Store, correct? Yes. And the Xbox Game Store, is that right? Yes.
Just 25.